how do I start over without starting over? You know, YouTube is a search engine, not a social media platform.
But YouTube is the only one where, dude, if I make a video today, somebody could watch it a year from now, 2 years from now.
I did not want to edit. I had zero marketing budget. The goal was 100,000, you know, because I was like, I just want to pay some bills. We ended up closing over $1 million in GCI.
Wow.
$1 million in commissions the first year.
How much time do you think somebody needs to commit to building a channel for any industry?
Yeah, way more in the beginning, I think, as you learn the process.
How many?
But yeah,
if you had to guess.
You know, I would at least.
If you're a real estate agent and you're tired of cold calling, door knocking, and spending money on ads, then subscribe to this podcast. We discuss leveraging the power of YouTube for your real estate business and how these strategies earned us over $1 million in GCI our first year in real estate. My name is Levi Lascsak and my partner is Travis Plum. Let's get started.
3, 2, 1. What's up, wealth builders? Today we are going over how to use YouTube to generate leads for your business. I've got a guy who is a YouTube expert specifically for helping realtors grow on YouTube, but these principles are going to be able to be applied to any entrepreneur in any business. I've got Levi Lascsak. What's up, man?
What's up, Ryan? How are you?
It's good to see you. It's been a while since you were on, maybe a year ago or so.
Yeah, over a year ago.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to have you, man, because I mean, we started out working together, man, years ago, which is crazy. And you're in Wealthy Creator and everything else. And then we've done some one-on-one stuff together. So it's been awesome to see your business like really scale the last few years. Not just in, you know, your guys' business for helping realtors grow on YouTube, but to see your realtor business grow. And then just to see you keep growing as an entrepreneur. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely been a journey, and yeah, you've played a big part of that, so we appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. So let's jump right into this, right? For those who don't know your story, give me the quick rundown of how you just even started getting on YouTube and using that as a tool to grow your business.
Yeah, it was out of desperation, really. I mean, it was I was 41 years old, which I'm 45 now, and
a whole career change at 41.
Yeah. Right. And the big question I was asking myself was, how do I start over without starting over? Because I had a financial services business where I worked with teachers on retirement planning, and that shut down in 2020 when all the schools shut down. Yeah. So again, at 41, and this was something I thought I was 5 years into that business. I was living my best life because I had a teacher's schedule, but like 5 times a teacher's income. So I was making a couple of $100,000 a year. You know, maybe not a lot by some people. It is by other people's standards.
Oh, for sure.
But I worked literally about 8 months of the year. So I was traveling. I went to 24 countries inside of 3 years. And that was really kind of my goal because I'd had some major setbacks previous in my life. And I realized that I'd never been anywhere or traveled anywhere other than Iraq in the military. And I thought that's not the place to only see. Yeah, that's not a vacation. So yeah, at 41, whenever the school shut down and that business was shut down, I was sitting there going, how am I in this position? How can I be 41? Like, I just feel like everything has been taken away again, you know, this time just because of a pandemic, right?
Right.
Before it's been health or military related or something. So I thought, okay, what's my next move? Like, what business would you start in the middle of a shutdown? You're not going to get a job because there's just 30 million layoffs in the U.S., right? I mean, so all the companies were either laying off or people were going to work from home. And so it was just a time that a lot of uncertainty. So I've got really good friends who are real estate agents. And one of them in particular, this guy named Michael Reese, he's been trying to get me into real estate for 20 years. He actually, we started our sales career at Bally Total Fitness selling gym memberships.
Right.
And he got in 2002, he got licensed. And the funny thing was I actually got licensed in 2004, but I was still in the reserves with the military. And then I got activated because of after 9/11 and everything. And so I had my license for about 1 week, and then I got called up and I was deployed for 18 months. So whenever I was gone, my license expired. Whenever I came back, I was like, well, I didn't really want to be a real estate agent anyways. And then I went off on my separate ways, right? And Michael and I always maintained contact. We've maintained friendship. And so he still thought I should be a real estate agent, and I didn't believe that.
Yeah.
So I think over 2020, I invested in several different things. I actually, I put all my money in on other opportunities.
Yep.
And what the irony of that is that they went nowhere, and I lost a lot of money. Actually, a couple $100,000 in cash. This wasn't like putting it on credit cards. I just put in straight cash.
Yep.
That I had. None of that really worked out. So I started to not see a way out, or all that money that I'd spent, it wasn't going to turn over. So I was kind of like, well, maybe this real estate agent thing, maybe. And I wasn't looking at the market. I wasn't trying to time it, or I didn't hear like, oh, everyone's getting into the business.
No, during COVID, nobody wanted to be in the business.
So that was up for question. But then, Michael he's pretty persistent. He's just like, hey, dude, it's time you should get into real estate. And so I just thought, and he knew me, he knew my work ethic, he knew who I am as a person. He was like, you'd be a good agent. But I really didn't want to start over in that manner. I didn't want to cold call. I didn't want to door knock. There were 0 community events going on. You're definitely not going to door knock in 2020. You're not going to go out to events, shake hands, kiss babies. And I didn't want to do that anyways. I'd been in sales for now 20 years. Love sales, but I was actually at a point too, I was kind of tired of prospecting.
Yep.
Because that's the reason I was really good at sales, because I was always willing to out prospect everybody. So I've done the cold calls, I've done the door knocks, I've done the shake hands, kiss babies, and I was always willing to do that more than anybody else, which made me good at sales. But I was also just kind of at a point where I was like, man, I don't want to do that anymore. And so I just started to try to think differently. And at this point, I started to also look at digital marketing, kind of getting some of those rabbit holes and thinking about, scaling versus just one-on-one sales. I think for me, I was kind of stuck in this old school mentality of one-to-one. If I want things done right, I've got to do it myself, or
when you look at most sales trainers, they don't know marketing.
Yeah.
So it's like they just is like, well, we're just going to keep getting better. We're just going to pound more doors. We're going to make more calls. We're just going to grind it out.
Yep.
And it's like that is the only thing you can do as a salesperson if you don't know marketing.
Yep.
It's like, well, if I don't have any more leads, then I'll just go generate the leads myself.
Exactly.
I'll just do whatever it takes. I'll hustle. And like you, it's like, man, you know what? There's got to be a better way. I mean, whether I buy leads and do digital marketing, whether I start making content, but like I need to do something that I don't have to work for the leads. Like they just more come to me, and then I can just close the qualified people.
Well, the word attraction got stuck in my head. And that's what was really interesting, was I was just thinking about attracting business versus chasing it. That's what I felt like I'd been doing for 20 years. And every time an outside factor came into the picture and took me out of the picture, I wasn't able to chase, right? And so therefore I wasn't able to generate business. And so I was like, what's a way I could bring people to me? And of course, the funny thing too is I was a little anti-social as well, social media, right? Because I'm still part of that age where we didn't grow up with it in high school. It wasn't there even immediately after high school. It wasn't until I was 20, I think, that the Nokia phone came out, and that was kind of cool, but there was nothing on there. So I was a little reluctant to social media, and I thought I was proud to be like the in-person type of person. But then I'm sitting here watching the 20 and 30-year-olds make money, and I'm like, wait a second, that's not fair. Okay, so maybe there's something to the social. So I knew that would be the route, but I didn't want to get spread thin across all the different platforms because I didn't really have a presence on any of them. I was concerned of trying to open every single platform, because that's, I think, a big mistake, whether you're an agent or a business owner. I don't know. I think people tell you, hey, you got to be everywhere.
Yeah. Well, you got to start in one place.
Exactly.
And get good at that.
Yeah. And that's what I thought, you know what? Well, if I'm going to go down this route, I'm going to choose one platform and really go all in on that platform. If I feel like I can master that platform or even generate the business I need, it should be easier to expand to other platforms versus try to do them all at once. And so
that's like starting 5 businesses at once.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, look, let's do one, and then that'll bleed into
They're
other
so
things.
powerful. That's the thing, is that what I don't think people understand or they take for granted, that the platforms are so powerful that they have a rhyme and a reason to how it works. And if you just take time to actually understand that and study it, then you're more likely to be successful on that platform. So I wanted to narrow that down. And of course, everybody was talking about TikTok in 2020, Instagram as well, Facebook, not as much. But I looked at those platforms. For me, I just didn't see my path forward there on those platforms. I didn't really feel like it was a personality fit for me. And YouTube was really the last choice. And nobody was really talking about YouTube either at that time for real estate agents in particular. And so when I started to go down that path, I just started to learn more and more about the platform. And ultimately, I read one line that said, YouTube is a search engine, not a social media platform. And that kind of triggered this thought of, oh, well, that actually makes sense. And I think I'd be more comfortable making content that's search-based or that people are actually looking for versus, I don't know, trying to be a dancing real estate agent on TikTok or something, and that didn't make sense. So
I can tell you, I had the same realization in 2020 when I was like looking at it all. I did do them all at once, which I don't advise. I just happened to be an outlier. It was not how it usually goes down. But I did TikTok and YouTube at once, and I was used to managing multiple businesses and things, so like doing multiple things wasn't foreign to me. But what I will say is I was convinced that YouTube was the best out of all of them. When I realized the same thing, I'm like, oh, YouTube's owned by Google, okay. And Google has search, and everyone uses this search engine to find things. And then YouTube keeps popping up as the top thing.
Yep.
And therefore, if I want people to, know anything about real estate investing or house flipping or wholesaling, all I got to do is make videos that fit search, and then I'm going to get seen.
Yep.
Like, that was the premise. And then I was also intrigued by AdSense. And like, now today I could give a crap about AdSense. It doesn't matter. But at that time, I was seeing these YouTubers make hundreds of thousands a month on ads. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. These guys just make videos and they get paid six figures a month. This is nuts. I could do that. Yep. And, I just started doing it and making videos. And I made side hustle videos. I made house flipping videos. I made, I eventually did podcast. Like I did every video you could imagine, just trying it out. But the main premise was that YouTube is a search engine. Google owns search. Long form is like, oh, this was the other part I liked too. Back at that time, so none of them paid you back at that time. YouTube was the only one that was actually paying you for ads. Now they all kind of do it, but still nothing beats YouTube. But back then too, what was crazy was every other platform lived only 24 hours. So, a TikTok or a Reel or Facebook, your feed is only the most recent content. Yep. Now that's changed 5 years later. You'll see videos from a month ago on Instagram or TikTok, whatever. But YouTube is the only one where, dude, if I make a video today, somebody could watch it a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. I was like, that makes perfect sense to me. Why that's powerful.
Yeah.
And I was just motivated.
Yeah. Well, and you had the advantage, I would say, and most people don't come in your position where you were coming in from successul businesses.
Yeah.
So you also had some resources.
Yeah, I had money, I had things to talk about.
So therefore, if that were the case, it would make sense to maybe start on multiple platforms like you did. But if you're starting out, for me, I didn't have the resources and I just spent all my cash on other stuff that didn't work.
Yep.
and then it was me, and so it's like, okay, what can I do for the least amount of money? And that's what's ironic about it all is then I figured out a free strategy on YouTube to generate a ton of money.
So basically you were like, I'm going to do this real estate thing, but I'm going to make YouTube videos about essentially living in Dallas to get my clients.
Yeah, it was. So I didn't know how to be a good real estate agent, right? Because I hadn't even sold a home. And so I think that's what the other platforms kind of concerned me about is I saw a lot of experienced people or experienced agents that were making content about, hey, here's the top 10 tips to sell your home fast or whatever, very informational and clearly from experience. I mean, I could read like what's the difference between a FHA loan and a conventional loan, and I could have easily regurgitated that on a 60-second video, but that didn't feel authentic to me, because again, I hadn't even sold a house yet with somebody. So, but I have lived in Dallas for a long time and I have been a homeowner there and I've lived in several different neighborhoods and I got friends that live in all the other neighborhoods and I got family that lives over here and I've, ran the streets in those, neighborhoods and I've hung out over. So I've experienced Dallas for over 20 years, so I knew how to be a resident.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, and that's what also intrigued me about the search and the kind of the content strategy was, okay, I don't need to pretend to be a top producing agent or an agent that knows everything about the market. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to be me, who is a Dallas resident, and kind of be like a tour guide and show people around and show neighborhoods. And it was also really good timing. Of course, in 2021, a lot of people started making moves from out of state and doing a lot of research on YouTube. So that did help quite a bit as well for that momentum in the start. And that's where it started to take off.
So you're figuring out YouTube. Obviously, you're just talking about things that people would be searching for and everything else. And
hey, you should check out my new community for free. It's where I host all of my more in-depth trainings, and you're going to get access to step-by-step courses showing you how to get buyer and seller leads for your business using passive prospecting, a supportive community of over 1,300 members, and weekly group coaching sessions you can attend and ask questions. Now, this community is all about passive prospecting and getting a quality buyer and seller leads through YouTube without spending a penny on ads or cold calling. Now, the link is in the description below, so make sure you join for free today and say hi to me when you get in the community. I look forward to seeing you there.
Were you making all the videos by yourself? Were you showing homes and working the thing by yourself? How did all that play out?
Yeah, so I was looking at making information just that I think people would search, so that you can also find out what people are searching. So I found through researching YouTube, and I just started watching all the people that teach YouTube on YouTube, really,
Yep.
and so they're like, oh, look, there's things you can find out what people are searching for. So then I started to look at suburbs around Dallas, and I found certain suburbs, and I could rank them by search volume.
Yep.
So even though I thought maybe I might want to cover this area because I live closer to it, but actually this area on the other side that's 10 minutes the opposite direction gets 300,000 more searches per month. So it made sense to me to go, oh, well, maybe I should make content on that neighborhood first instead of this one, just because I feel like doing this one. Actually, let me go to where the data shows me. And this is the case with any entrepreneur. So this isn't just real estate or Dallas suburbs. I mean, you can do this for whatever business you're in. People have problems that they're trying to solve, and you can look up actual search volume around that. And so I was prepared, whenever I started out, prepared to go in 100% as a solo agent. I was expecting that, and I wasn't really expecting it to blow up. My whole goal the first year was $100,000 in income and maybe $200,000. If I could hit $200,000, I would be ecstatic. Yeah. And also, but I did know that I did not want to edit. So I had zero marketing budget. I was going to work on it organic, but I knew one thing for sure is that I didn't have an interest in learning editing. I probably would have quit after one video if I tried to edit. So I did set aside an editing budget. So I found an editor. Actually, her name is Chrissy. She's still with the company today, but she was the first editor.
Oh, I didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah, she was yep.
That's
and
funny.
The funny thing about that is I found her on Fiverr. She worked with me in my previous company. Yeah, you actually can find good people on Fiverr, maybe back then, but I found her on Fiverr, and she did social media stuff for me in my previous company, off and on, just like as a contractor, part-time here or then, helped me on some things. And so whenever I started this, I was like, hey, can you edit videos? And she was like, yeah, I can do that. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to do, 2 or 3 videos a week, what would you charge? She said, I'll do this. And I was like, okay, great. Sounds like a deal. Yeah. So she started editing. And then,
well, you want to hear a funny story about that?
Yeah.
So when I decided to do YouTube, I started watching YouTubers teach YouTube too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, how do I do this thing? And they're talking about titles and thumbnails and stuff. And I'm like, okay. And then, editing's a thing. And so okay, here's what we use for editing. You can get Premiere Pro and you can get this. And I was like, all right, I'll buy it. And then it's like, all right, what do you need? And they're like, okay, you need this kind of computer. You need, this screen. I was like, all right, cool. Dude, I literally bought this whole setup as if I was going to edit.
Oh, really? No.
Dude, I thought I was. I was like, you know what? I'm committed to this. I'm going to edit. And then I literally turned on Premiere Pro. And I was like, I am not going to edit. Nope. This is crazy. And the only reason I was even thinking about editing was because all those YouTube guys edit themselves. Yeah. They're like, yeah, this is how I do it. And I was like, well, if they're successful and they edit, I'm going to edit. And dude, the moment I turned on Premiere Pro, I spent like $5,000 on this rig dig thing.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, this ain't it. And so my first few videos, my wife actually edited them. So Mindy did. And because she likes creative stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, edit them, like whatever. And so we just put them out. And then when COVID somehow went away, we went back to our office here and I hired people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I still have never edited a YouTube video, but I have edited my TikToks and my Reels.
Well, I think that's the big misconception. I think that's what scares people away from YouTube is they think that they have to be the editor as well.
Never be the editor.
Yeah.
If you're in any kind of business and you're editing your own videos, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
It's not that expensive
I know
to
of
edit.
one real estate agent that edits his own videos, but it's his art. And
Yeah,
that's
he just
where
enjoys it.
That's where he expresses himself is through the editing process and everything. But also I asked him, I was like, how long does it take you to edit a video? And he goes, one video, about 24 hours. I was like a day. I'm thinking like an 8-hour day. He said, no, 24 hours. I was like, okay, well, no,
You
thank
would
you.
never catch me doing
so
that.
that's 3 days at least of editing for one day of filming. So I mean that is almost
That's a 4-day thing.
That's his work week right there almost
Yeah.
to do one property. If you have a second property, where does that put you? So
Yeah.
it was Chrissy was the first editor, and then funny thing is randomly I was over at my buddy Michael Reese's house again one day early on in the process. And this really tall, handsome dude comes walking in, super stud, and he's over there.
Oh, I thought you were
Travis-
talking about me. You're talking about Travis. Okay.
Yeah, Travis walks in and meet Travis, and we met, and then started talking about what I was working on and everything, and then a month or two later, we started talking more about it. He talked about starting up his own channel, and so I was kind of talking through some of those things with him, and then about the time that clients actually started to reach out from the channel, then we were actually hanging out together, and he was like, well, hey man, I'll go out and show some homes. And, I was like, okay, well, so we went out, I was like, all right, cool, let's go. And we went out together on like the first couple of, clients that came in. And then Travis was like, hey, I'll write the contract, or I'll work out the deal and negotiate. And so he kind of took lead on all of that. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. And then the next thing you know, it was, the next client came in and he was like, hey, I'll handle that one. I was like, okay, all right. And I was like, wait a second. Okay. I haven't even opened a door yet, And so it just kind of, it just naturally progressed into that partnership to where now till this day, in the first 4 years of our real estate business, we sold 482 homes, and I never opened a door.
Wow.
And I've never even written a contract, which is will make some people very happy and other people not so happy. They're
Yeah.
like, wait a second. So, and that's the funny thing is that never writing a contract in the real estate business and going through 482 transactions. I mean, that's, and I think that's a true business right there. And I didn't get in with the intention really to be a real estate agent. I did come in with this approach, how could I be a business owner? But I wasn't expecting it to happen that quickly, but I was immediately thinking about scaling, right? Because I just realized what I'd done wrong, or what I felt like I have done wrong over the last 20 years, which was always be the primary person in my business, and over that summer of 2020, not just spending all that money, but also learning a lot more about business and digital marketing. It opened my eyes to so many other ways that true entrepreneurs really run a business. And so I had intention to turn that into a business from there, but everything just kind of fell into place with, Chrissy being able to edit and taking that on. And then, Travis right there at the beginning. And the funny thing is handsome as he is, he really doesn't like to make videos. He says he does, but he still doesn't like to make videos. Yeah.
He was telling me he's going to build his brand. I'm hearing about this 4 years ago. You were thinking about it. You sound like a lot of people who come to my events. I've been thinking about buying real estate for 5 years now. Well, why haven't you done it? What are we doing?
Well, he still doesn't like to make videos, but I tell you what,
he don't have to.
But he
got a good partner.
He can negotiate a deal like nobody's business.
Yep.
I've never seen what would be considered a buyer's agent work over seller's agents all day long.
Yeah.
And especially
he steamrolls them. Well, he walks up, dude. He's huge.
Yeah, I know. He's an Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
He's an Iron Man. So in 2021, whenever our business really took out, by the way, like I said, the goal was 100,000, because I was like, I just want to pay some bills that first year, and then maybe 200,000 as a stretch. We ended up closing over $1 million in GCI.
Wow.
$1 million in commissions the first year.
That's insane.
And
I don't know that I've ever heard of anyone else doing that.
It's few and far between.
Yeah.
Few, and with zero marketing budget.
Let me ask you this, right? And I just want to highlight the value of getting the right people in your business, because that's something you've done really well. And, I'm actually having you speak about this here at the Mastermind obviously Chrissy is great. Travis is great. Yaman's great. You got a bunch of great people, but let's imagine a world where Travis didn't walk through the door and you kept making the videos. And guess what? You also had to now split time showing all the homes, cutting your teeth, learning contracts and negotiating the business. How much do you think you would have made
that year?
Yeah.
Well, if I was negotiating deals, probably twice as much.
There we go. Travis in the back, like this freaking guy.
I probably would have hit 200,000-300,000. I think.
Yeah. Well, I just think about the time.
Yeah.
Right. You now need to go show homes.
Here's the funny thing, though, too, is actually, even though Travis and I started working together, there was a couple of other agents that I started to give deals to. So I started to
So you were already like, I'm just going to be a lead generator, essentially.
Well, I was already kind of going down that path. And the funny thing is that's the great thing about real estate is you go through a transaction or two with somebody and you can learn if you want to work with them real quickly or not, And so, and it's funny because the two other people, all of a sudden started getting protective of the leads, and then also didn't want to communicate with me on what was going on. And then were like, hey, worried about what I gave over to Travis. And I was just like, well, first of all, it's none of your business. And I'm trying to see, and they didn't want to do 50-50 and my explanation. And that's not a typical referral, but also most of the time you refer one deal to one person
you're like,
a
I'm
year.
Building a true thing.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is going to be multiple deals. So I was trying to explain that. And, a couple of those agents they weren't fun to work with. And then also we went through a couple of transactions and I was like, well, this is not worth it. Travis was very happy to handle the business, to do that work on the backside. So yeah, I don't know if it would have, if I would have found the right people that first year, and I probably would have done. I could have done a couple of 100,000 for sure, but it would have gotten overwhelming and.
Well, and that's kind of my point, right? Okay, granted, you already had the mindset of I want to find somebody to kind of delegate this out to. You're already starting to think like an entrepreneur, but I think most people who are in business, especially realtors, because most realtors think they have a business, but they don't. They're just self-employed, and they're like, all right, well, I generate the lead. So now, okay, I'm going to stop making videos, work this lead.
Yep.
And then, okay, the deal's done. I'll get back to now lead generation. Doesn't matter what it is, cold calling, YouTube, whatever. But by having two separate roles that were constantly going where you're like, hey, I'm going to generate leads and that's all I'm going to focus on. I'm going to make videos. All you're going to focus on is closing the leads and closing the deals. Yeah, you could have made 200 grand, like you said, but then you guys did $1 million because you both are just focused on your things.
Right.
So I think that's an important lesson for a lot of entrepreneurs to realize. The reason you haven't heard of anyone really doing $1 million year one is because they don't know that.
Yeah.
They're trying to do everything themselves.
Well, even really by October, Travis was overwhelmed. So even handling, so we actually had to bring on another buyer's agent within 10 months of starting that channel, just because he was like, dude, it's too much, And then by year 2, we had to really ramp up the team, because by year 2 it started generating 5.5 leads a day.
Yeah.
And one lead a day may not sound like much, but for an agent, that's a lot.
Some new person telling you they're interested in buying a home, they would kill for that.
And at the end of the month, you've got 30.
Yeah.
And then
you got to keep following up because they don't buy right away.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot. It is a lot. And so you have to, now the cool thing about YouTube is as long as you take the right steps, you can scale your business accordingly, because I mean, it's the whole reason, by the way, we have a turtle, as a mascot, because slow and steady wins the race, right? Patience is a virtue. The tortoise always beats the hare in the long run. You were just talking about the long game earlier today, right? The long strategy. So, YouTube starts to grow gradually. I've never really heard of somebody posting a couple of videos, go viral overnight, and their business blows up on YouTube. Not likely, but you'll start to see the business come in. So as it starts to come in, it starts to grow with your subscriber count, your view count. And as long as you take appropriate steps to scale with that, then you should be able to get the right people in place to be able to handle that. Yeah. But if you just sit around, exactly what you said, I've seen it time and time again. People are like, well, I got busy, so I stopped making videos. And then guess what? They kill all of their momentum. Yep. And especially if your channel is a year old or even 2 years old, the last thing you want to be doing is taking breaks, especially for months. Yeah.
I haven't missed content in a day the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's why we do what we do. And it's like, I was even saying that out there on the mastermind. I'm like, guys, I was just reflecting about this, but this is year 5 of doing this every quarter. We've never missed a quarter. It's like, it's just what we do. Yeah. And like, that's how you create consistency. It's how you create brand. That's how you create all these things. And most people just kind of like switch off task.
Yep.
Oh, I'm a marketer today, and then tomorrow I'm a salesperson. Oh, today I'm a transaction coordinator, and I can only do one of those things at a time, and so I got to shut off marketing for the week, and I got to shut off this because I got to get these deals to the finish line.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, that's the definition of inconsistency.
Right.
And I see this all the time with everything in life. You have inconsistent faith when you don't read your Bible every day and pray. You have inconsistent health when you sometimes work out, and then other times you're too busy, and other times you eat like crap. It's just like, just do the same things every day. Your life will be a lot easier and more predictable and better. Yeah. So let's talk about this, right? You guys end up obviously crushing it on the realtor side. Then you guys, like you said, your mascot, you guys start another company, Passive Prospecting. And, you teach agents how to do YouTube. And that business blows up. So first, your real estate business blows up into a 7-figure business, then multi-7-figure. Then you start coaching. That blows up into a multi-7-figure business. And then, both are just growing and accelerating and everything else. There's so much to talk about here, but clearly YouTube played a role in both of them growing. What are some tips that any entrepreneur can use if they're thinking about utilizing YouTube to get more leads?
Well, first of all, just research. I mean, actually build out a business plan for the platform. And I think that's where it's very noble to just post, or just post your first video. But like I said, the algorithms are so powerful right now that you need to understand the platform. So I think it's okay not to get stuck in analysis paralysis, but actually take some time to study. I actually studied the platform for about 2 months, really, before
That's what I did too.
Yeah, studied the platform for about 2 months. Now, here's the thing.
I bought courses too.
Yeah, you could do that.
Did everything.
So that would be my first recommendation, buy our course.
Yeah. No, for real. I mean, that's what I did.
I mean, it's what I tell people, it's the fast pass. You ever had a fast pass at Disney or
well, I've actually had the VIP pass.
Yeah.
That's where they tour you around and jump you straight to the front.
Yeah. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And you can ride a ride over and over and over again while everyone else stands in line for 4 hours. Yeah.
Bye, peasants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, look, we're just a fast pass on YouTube. Everything's out there for free, of course.
Yeah.
But you're going to spend nights, weekends, weeks, months, even to piece it all together. And you can do that. If you've got zero budget, go do that. And that's what I did. Now that's the things I had time on my hand, because whenever I started studying, I'd literally like 8-10 hours a day sat there in front of a computer watching YouTube, and I was making notes, and I understood consistency. So I understood publishing times, frequency of because I watched so many videos on that. So, I mean, it's just, you want to have a plan in place.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to do this all on your own, you need to study, but at least you could do, we have a book called Passive Prospecting. That's $20 on Amazon. That's about the cheapest you can get the information to give you a foundation and baseline.
We'll link to that down below, by the way. So it's called
thank you.
passive prospecting on Amazon. Okay.
Appreciate it. And but otherwise, yeah, you need to just have an understanding of what you're going to do. Number two is once you have that understanding, you need to build out probably 3 to 4 months worth of content. As far as, okay, if I'm going to do 2 videos a week, that's 8 videos a month. So at a minimum, I need probably 24, and that's only 3 months, 24 video topics, not necessarily titles, because you need to probably work through that, but you need to have 24 topics that you could be like, okay, hey, this will sustain me over the next 3 months. So you're not wondering, you're not creating one video and then the next day you're going, well, what do I do next, right? So then you want to film about a month's worth of content first.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to do 8 videos a month, what I recommend is you film 1, maybe 2 videos first, send that to an editor. By the way, I don't recommend editing yourself at all whatsoever. It's not the best use of your time. And send your first video or 2 to an editor, because if you haven't gone through that process, you're going to get back a finished product that is going to help you understand how it all fits together. Because most people will sit there and say, well, I can't make a 20-minute video for YouTube. Or that's why Instagram, TikTok is so attractive, because they're like, oh, okay, I can do something for 30 seconds. Yeah, it's easier. But I see people making 20, 30, 40-minute videos on YouTube. And we're not sitting down and speaking nonstop for 30 minutes.
Let me add to this too. So I've been in the social media world now for 5 years, and I've gotten 1 billion views. A lot of those are short form, but had lots of watch time long form. And the reason I look at watch time now is because I've just realized if you want someone to do business with you, it really just depends how long they watch you for, right? Like I talked about the 7-hour rule out there. It's like, man, if somebody spends 7 hours with you, there's a good chance you're going to do business together. It's just so hard to get 7 hours on 30-second clips. It's just really hard. It's far easier to do it on YouTube and everything else. And I think about today, the most popular people in the world who are content creators. Let's just say on social media, people who aren't on social as like a celebrity, right? We're not talking Ronaldo or these guys, but who are the most popular people in the world right now? They're the people who have high watch time. Like I look at, okay, obviously Mr. Beast, let's say he's the #1 content creator in the world. You know, his videos are 20 minutes plus every time, and he's got Beast games, and like people are just consuming his content for long periods of time. So, you know, YouTubers are there. But what's actually like almost surpassing YouTube now, which is crazy, is Twitch. We just had a Twitch guy in here talking about all these guys. I mean, these guys live stream for 24 hours at a time.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, if you spend a full day with somebody on a live stream, these people do it. It's crazy. They love them. And I hear about it, and I'm like, dude, this guy like Kai Cenat or whatever his name is, and all these guys, man, they're bringing in like $100 million a year just from Twitch. And I'm like, that is insane. But it makes sense to the theory of spend time with somebody. There's no like big Instagrammers who that's all they have. Like, yeah, it exists, but they're not Mr. Beast and these guys. So to me, it all just comes back to spend time with people, and that's how you gain trust. That's how you gain fans, everything else. You can't really gain trust or fans in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's going to take time.
Yeah, and I have that conversation with, look, as long as your information is valuable and people come back for the information, they'll develop the relationship with you over, a series of videos.
Yeah.
And so even though they may not like you necessarily, or, Ryan is annoying, but man, it's some good content.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I mean, how many times and I make this analogy, I always say, guys, listen, how many of you said, question your wife, why are you watching Housewives?
Yeah.
That show's so stupid. It's so petty. Everyone argues all the time. And then the next week they walk by and they're like, what did they say?
Yeah.
Oh, that's still stupid, And then the third week they walk by and they're like, they sit down on the couch and they're eating popcorn with you for 5 minutes. And I said, and then they're like, who's that? Bob? Oh, Bob's the husband of, okay, I kind of like Bob. He's, and so then all of a sudden they get a character that they start to relate to or they understand. And then by the end of the season, they're going, hey, when's season 2 start? You know, and so they get sucked up, even though initially they didn't like it.
Yep.
But they got caught up in that, and you develop the relationship over time. So I always just recommend to people, hey, you stay consistent. With long form, they're spending a lot of time with you. So even if it's not a direct personality connection at the beginning, that might happen over time, or they actually might find a different YouTuber in your market maybe, and they go work with them. But, and that's why I say this is a rejection-free business, because what are most salespeople used to? Rejection.
Yeah.
How many times have you heard you've got to have, 100 no's to get to the yes? You know, you need to know how many no's you need to have before you get to the yes.
Yeah.
It's all rejection based. You're used to that, getting beat down. You just said out there, you guys got $50 a day to get one.
Yeah.
$50 a day to get one contract a week, which means they're doing what, $250 a week to try to get one deal. That's a lot of rejection. Yeah. Either people aren't answering, even if they don't answer, that's a little bit like, nobody answered, that's a little bit of a, and then I'm not interested. And so here I'm like, I actually don't know if people don't want to work with me.
I know. They just don't submit.
Yeah. They just don't reach out and they don't exist. The people that call us, they want to work with us.
Yeah.
It blew me away. And this is in any business. If you do YouTube, you will have clients call you that want to do business with you, that the relationship is already established on their end, and your main goal is to not screw it up at that point, right?
Yeah.
Actually be the person who you are on video, but then also you have to have conversion on the backside as well. So that it's not just, hey, they come in and they love you and they're going to work with you at all cost. No, that's not the case. You still have to have your back end. You still need to have sales skills, people skills, understand how to get people through the process. And that's very, very important. And that's what, and that's what Travis is a master at. And I say, I just collect the clients, he converts them.
Yeah.
And we know this to be true as well, because even last year, for a certain amount of time, we outsourced our leads to a team, because we thought, hey, let's become like the Zillow model of YouTube, right? What's the big deal? If we have this team, we have office overhead, all this other stuff, we have a net anyways. What if we just did that for a referral and sourced it out to a team?
Yeah.
And so we tested that, and we found out that it absolutely matters about who answers that phone.
Yeah.
Because when Travis does it, or even people on our direct team, and they say, hey, is Levi there? They'll just say, no, Levi's out filming right now, but we can help you out. And because whether it's Travis or somebody on our team, they know the process and they know how to have that conversation. And we never had a problem with conversion.
Yeah.
But just outsourcing it to a team, we learned real quickly that...
Hey, real quick, if you're thinking about changing brokerages, or you're brand new and you're thinking about choosing a brokerage, well, Travis and I would love to talk to you about partnering with us at EXP. You'll get access to all of our coaching, training, and courses at no cost. But mainly we want to see if we're a good fit for each other. So just check the description below and you can book a call with myself and Travis, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Well, you would think it makes sense, right? The YouTube model is very personalized, and so they're coming for you and your team, and then it's like Zillow is not. You know, whoever submits is like,
but still, most people will work with the first person they talk to.
Oh,
so
for sure.
Even like Zillow, there's zero relationship with there, but whoever answers the phone,
they're going to take them.
Is most likely going to get that client.
Yeah.
And so for us, we just have to solidify that. If they call us, they're not usually calling every YouTube real estate agent. I think we've had that happen once in the last 4 years.
This is just sales in general.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone.
So
the 5-minute rule.
Prime example, there's a plumber in Dallas, by the way, and he's got over 600,000 subscribers. And guess what? He teaches people how to fix your leaky faucet and your leaky toilet. And it's funny because he teaches you how to do that for free.
He's kind of cannibalizing himself.
Right. But you know what? One day I walked into my backyard and I had a pool in my backyard. And I'm like, well, I don't have a pool. There's this giant pool in my backyard. And I'm like, So who do I call? I called the YouTube plumber that I've watched a couple of his videos. I don't watch plumbing videos, but I watched him from like a content creator standpoint. Because I'm like, man, this plumber's getting a lot of views,
Yeah.
Especially on a subject that's kind of crappy, right?
Yeah.
So
literally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but they come over to my house, and guess what? It was my pipe bust in the middle of the backyard, was flooding my backyard, and they had to excavate the whole thing, replace it, and that was a $7,000 repair.
Yeah.
So do you think he cares about, teaching me how to fix my $100 faucet leak? No, because there's much bigger. I mean, Travis just had a leak in an upstairs bathroom, and that thing was like, $20,000 because it leaked in the bathroom, went all down the walls into another who do you got? You got to call the plumber. And so, and what's cool is when his van pulled up to my house, it looked like a YouTube thumbnail. So I mean, just had his face, on there. He's holding his wrench, very on brand with marketing. But he gets and I actually had a conversation with him. He gets $1 million. He's got $1 million brand deal with Home Depot.
Oh, snap!
Yeah. I mean, so that's just one brand deal. Yeah. So, I mean, he's got these opportunities, and he's just talking about plumbing. So it doesn't matter if you're a plumber, electrician, financial advisor, a wholesaler, a syndicator, and that's something else mainly more for your audience. Whenever the last 2 years I've got into some apartment deals, and I wanted to raise capital, as part of a couple of the deals I was on the GP team. And I was like, hey, let me help raise capital.
Yeah.
And you know what I did? I made YouTube videos about the process and everything. Now, I did all of that in accordance with the laws and regulations, and it wasn't on anything. And so
accredited investors, stuff like that.
Exactly. So, and you know what? The first deal when I didn't have a deal, you know what I did? I went to the group that I was working with and said, hey, what's the last deal you closed? And I went and I toured that property and talked through the numbers and everything. And I made a whole hour-long YouTube video on that. And then I was like, hey, click the link below in the description if you want to get notified when we open up the next opportunity.
Yeah, that's how we've raised money for all our deals too.
Guess what? I mean, I built an investors list with a few videos. And then whenever the next deal came up, I just went down the list and I just shot them an email. Hey, are you interested in the new opportunity? Let's jump on a Zoom call. Yeah. And it was that I didn't have to pound the phones, I didn't have to beg people. And because they watched those videos I made on a couple of those deals, the relationship was there. And so they were happy to invest.
Yeah. What's interesting is, for me anyways, I've almost always exclusively been inbound marketing. And so for those wondering who don't know, YouTube is a form of inbound marketing, right? Yep. Inbound is that, hey, somebody comes to you wanting to work with you, right? They fill out a form on your website, whatever, right? Outbound is, hey, they don't know who you are. You're reaching out to them to tell them who you are and to let them know about your service. So, a lot of real estate agents do outbound marketing. I would say that's the predominant thing that realtors do. That means they're going to go cold call expired listings, door knock things, all this stuff. Real estate investors are the same. And quite frankly, a lot of businesses operate this way because they don't really know how to do inbound. But for me, probably since 2020, I've basically done no outbound. From 2020, all I did was create content, which generates inbound leads for all my businesses. Even on the real estate side, we did TV commercials, which generated inbound leads. Now we do Facebook ads to generate inbound leads for sellers and, all this stuff. And it's just significantly easier talking to people who have opted in saying, I actually am interested in working with you. I don't know if I want to yet. I want to hear more. But it's significantly easier because you don't chase people anymore. You don't spend time actually to generate the lead. People don't realize it's dude, when you're cold calling all day for 5 hours a day and you get one person who's interested, it took 5 hours to generate that lead. Your time has cost. And then now that's just generating the lead. That's not even closing the lead and following up and doing all those things. So for me anyways, I'm a huge advocate of inbound marketing. If you're going to go the organic side, it takes time. Like you said, that's the tortoise approach. The hare approach is, do some paid inbound marketing and get leads today. So it's for me now, both coexist in my world.
Well, yeah, and I talk to agents, especially if they come in struggling. I'm like, look, this is not going to solve your problems overnight.
No, this is a long-term
You need to
play.
go do open houses. I mean, there's probably nothing quicker in real estate industry. You can open up a house on a Saturday, like this Saturday, open up a house, And you're likely going to have somebody come through that house that's unrepresented.
Yeah.
And you could get a client literally like that. So, and they're actually out there looking. And so I'm like, look, that's probably the fastest way. Yes, you could pound the phones, but that, again, takes time. And the thing is that you want to incorporate this in your business. I don't see why, even if you're doing well right now, you add, this should be a part of your marketing strategy regardless. But again, regardless of what your business is, I mean, I was able to raise capital for these multifamily deals easier than some of these people that have been in the business for 5 or 10 years, and they were looking at that going, "Oh, wait a second, maybe we should do some videos as well." Instead of pounding the phones, and so it's a whole different opportunity at hand. But yeah, I mean, it's a way of business now that I couldn't go back, and the whole point, with outbound. That's the reason the whole sales industry exists, which you still need sales skills, but the whole point of building rapport, establishing credibility, developing relationships, that is to get people to know, like, and trust you. And so that they will eventually want to do business with you.
Yeah.
The other thing is when you're chasing, you don't necessarily know when those people are in the market.
Yeah.
So I could be cold calling 100 people and 99.
Yeah, I'll sell 6 months from now.
Well, they could have all bought a house yesterday too.
Yeah, that's true too.
And so maybe they may not even be in the market for another 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 7. So I'm also wasting my time with those types of contacts whenever YouTube, they're on there searching, they're actively looking, they're in the market. We ran the stats on whenever people call us to when we get them under contract, and we average about 60 days.
Yeah.
So
this is a really good point about any inbound marketing. And I would say organic YouTube is the highest quality lead you can get.
Yeah.
Period. I've spent millions on all sorts of marketing. Anytime I get an organic YouTube lead, nothing converts better in any of my businesses. Yeah. So that's number one. But number two is, let's just talk about even like normal inbound marketing, like a Facebook ad or something like that. Those leads convert significantly quicker than an outbound cold call. Like, even when we get, and I'm talking from a perspective of we're reaching out to sellers, trying to get them to sell us their house. Okay. So similar thing, right? You guys are trying to get buyers mainly with what you're doing. So if we go after sellers and we do cold calls on average, right? It's like, it's still going to take like 120 days to go get the deal. Mm-hmm. Because we might get a hold of them day one, and now there's like all this nurturing that has to happen because, like, you know what? We actually would be interested in selling our home. That's like, great. And then we're like, cool, like, let's do it. What price do you want? And they're like, well, we don't even know where we would go. We haven't even thought about what's next.
Yeah.
And so now you have these new objections to overcome where it's like, okay, like, let's figure out where you're going to go, what this would look like. We haven't talked price because there's other objections that now have to get handled. And so the average time could take 120 days if they even said yes from the first day of like, yo, I might sell my house.
Yeah.
An inbound lead, whether it's Facebook, an organic, whatever, they're like, no, I actually do want to sell my house. So it's really about price. Can we get the price done for what I want? I already kind of know what I want to do once I sell it. And so that time frame is significantly condensed.
Yeah.
Which is important. We want to close deals quick.
Yeah.
So,
and then people would tell us too, like they watched the channel for a year and then they reached out.
Yeah.
So there, it's almost like there's a respect level there, and really I think people really respect a YouTube creator. Because I think it's really a smaller percentage of people that can create content for that platform.
Yeah, for sure.
And even the consumer side, like they're like, wow. I think they look at whenever you've produced a 20, 30, or 40-minute video for them, really, and it feels individualized to them, which is also a really key thing about YouTube. Don't do all the hey y'all, welcome everyone.
Yeah.
It's I'm always like you. I'm always looking directly in that camera.
You
talking
can
about
do this.
You're moving to Dallas. You're looking for this type of home in this neighborhood, and so I'm always speaking to you.
Yeah, not an
so,
audience.
Yeah, and I think for them, they're the clients come in and they're just like, I don't know. They just love it, and I think they feel a much higher level of respect. I think they feel like you've earned, this whole commission thing with the National Association of Realtors and these buyer agreements. Getting, that flipped the industry upside down, and that weeded out a lot of people that couldn't really explain their value. And people coming to us from YouTube, that value is already established. So when we talk about signing a buyer rep, or, hey, you might be responsible for our commission, depending on what that is, they're like, okay, cool. They feel like we've already earned that just through the video content.
Yeah,
we haven't even started really the actual process yet.
No, I'm with you. So for anyone watching this, right? I mean, you're an entrepreneur at the end of the day. You've done a lot of things. It happens to just be realtors right now, and then teaching realtors how to do this and everything else. But for somebody who is trying to create content for their business, I mean, look, we're all entrepreneurs. We know that there's the actual running of the business that takes a lot of our time, energy. We got to hire people. We're like spending money. There's overhead. We got to service the people that we sell. We're specifically talking about this like niche thing of creating a YouTube channel for marketing. That's like only one small part of our business.
Yeah.
What do you say to the entrepreneurs who are like, bro, I just don't have time, man. Like, I'm so busy doing X, Y, Z. Like, how am I going to find the time to go make a YouTube channel and do this stuff? So, number one, how much time do you actually need? That's number one. How much time do you got to put into truly developing a channel to have success? And then two, I guess, like at the end of the day too, what's the expectation of when you should start being able to generate leads and start getting a return?
Well, first of all, YouTube does not take you time. YouTube makes you time.
Okay.
And not only does it make you time, it compounds your time. So a couple of concepts I want to explain, and then I'll just answer the other question directly. But let's say it took me 30 minutes to make a video. Well, if that video has been watched, and this is what I love about YouTube, because it shows you the watch time, and actually Instagram started doing this now too, is showing you watch time on Reels, but they got that from YouTube. I can see if one video, for example, was watched 11,000 hours, to me, I invested 30 minutes of my time and I got back 10,995 hours of, I call that profit of the time, right? And so if I said, hey, Ryan, you give me 30 minutes and I'll give you 10,995 hours back, you would take that trade.
Well, last year we had over a million hours.
Okay, so you're going to make me look bad. So let me tell my stats, and then you can tell yours.
Yeah.
But 2024, for example, and this is where I say the compounding time, because what do people argue that is your most valuable asset?
Your time.
Your time.
Yeah.
And if you were going to invest in stocks, real estate, or crypto, or if I said, hey, Ryan, I've got this really cool flip house, or I've got some stock, I got this stock you got to look at, and I said, you want to invest with me, what would your number one question would probably be?
What's the return?
Yeah, exactly. What's the return? So we do that with money. But if time is our most valuable asset, why are we not asking ourselves, what's the return of my time if I'm actually going to invest my time into something?
Yeah.
Most things that you invest your time in, you get a one-to-one return.
Yeah.
Which if I'm going to cold call, I can only cold call for an hour, and whenever I hang up, that's it. I can only speak to one person. If I'm actually going to, make this video, technically you're only making one video right now, but there's so much more that can grow from this. So, but I'm looking at what people, the amount of time they spend with me. And last year, our channel was watched 137,600 hours.
That's
roundabout.
crazy.
Yeah. And that's good for us, And so,
I mean, that's 100,000. That's 100,000 hours of people watching.
137,000.
Yeah,
and if you divide that by 24 hours in a day, that's equivalent to 15 and a half years worth of prospecting.
Yeah.
And so, and I equate that if I were to actually compare that to an agent that typically prospects 2 hours a day, it would take them 143 years to match what I did last year.
Yeah.
If we were prospecting. And so if I pulled up my YouTube channel right now, I probably got 150, 200, maybe 250 people viewing this hour while I'm sitting here with you. So my channel is prospecting to 250 people right now. Number one, you can't duplicate that as a single agent no matter what you do. You can't call enough. You can't send out enough postcards. Or postcards, you send them out, that's one and done. They hit the mailbox, and then that's it until you send out the next batch. If you don't send out the next batch, you're not prospecting anymore. So it's not, if you think about it that way, this is an investment of your time. And so you're willing to do that. And if you're entrepreneurial, you should be thinking about what can I invest in to get a better return of my investment, whether that's money or your time. And I don't think there is anything that compares to YouTube when it comes investing your time. So I don't care if it takes you 5 hours a week to make videos, which it won't. That should be the best 5 hours of your entire week as far as getting a return back on that. So in reality, actual time does it take me to make? If I were to sit in the office, I mean, I'm pretty good at this point. I'm proficient enough to where I can pretty much do a video in one take. Or, we were talking last night at dinner, and I understand that if I'm 20 minutes into a video and I mess up, I just start over at the sentence, and keep going, versus most people might talk for 10 minutes, mess up, and then they think they've got to start the whole 10 minute, and so they get in this endless cycle or this endless loop. So as you get better and you get more proficient at it, it becomes so easy. And again, I still mess up. Every single video I record, I have never done it perfectly. And I just understand, though, if I screw up a sentence or a word, I just stop and I restart, and I know an editor is going to handle that for me. And actually, I don't think we completed that point going back to, starting your channel, is I recommend that you film 1 to 2 videos, have an editor edit them, and you get that finished product back. It'll help you see how a completed video looks. And they took out your ums or your ands or your,
it looks way better
your giant swallows. Some people are like, they like swallow really big, and or they get nervous or they pause. All that stuff gets cut out. And so then you film your next 6 videos, and you have a month's worth of content first. Then you schedule all of that ahead of time over the next 30 days. And what that allows you to do is that gives you 30-day window now to start recording for the next month. So if I'm going to publish, let's say April 1st, I should have all my videos scheduled out for April. And during this month of April, I can start
how much time do you think? So, I mean, I'm with you. Like, I am now everywhere. And I'm going to film this. It takes an hour, and then, like, it's going to get seen for many, many hours more than what it took me, right? But, like, how much time do you think somebody needs to commit to building a channel for any industry?
Way more in the beginning, I think, as you learn the process.
How many?
But
if you had to guess.
I would at least 10 hours a week.
I would say the same. I've taught a lot of entrepreneurs to do this.
2 hours a day for five days a week. You should be working on that at least.
I say the same thing. I say, look, if you want to grow, whether it's a wholesale business or start making content, adding this thing, 10 hours a week is the minimum. If you're not going to commit to 10 hours a week, don't do it. Just quit. Just go keep cold calling people for 10 hours. Do whatever you're doing. But if you actually want to give it a chance, give it 10 hours. And then I always tell people, also give it 6 months. Like I say that with the wholesale business, the flipping business, the content business. If you're not willing to give it 10 hours in 6 months, don't even do it. Keep working your job. Keep doing what you're doing. You ain't going to make it. Like, I would rather just tell people the truth.
I would even say a year. Because right now I'm doing a round. I'm interviewing a lot of people.
And I would argue a year with content. For sure.
A year with
content. Wholesale, I think.
Oh well, wholesale, that's different. But with content, I'm saying a year on YouTube.
I agree.
A lot of people. I'm going through my round of podcasting right now with people that have been through our program. And a lot of them started in 2023 because we had massive success 2022. We did well 2023 and 2024, but these last 2 years have been brutal for the real estate. So we've still done over 7 figures from the YouTube channel the last 2 years, but 2022, we did like 2.8 million, you know? So it was bananas. And like I said, 5.5 leads coming in per day. And so a lot of people started working with us in 2023 because they saw that 2022 success. Well, that was interest rates were over 7.5% the entire year, sometimes 8%. Super tough market. Most people quit within 4 to 7 months of starting their channel. And what I'm finding now is I'm starting to interview a lot of the people that I know have been successful. 2024 was their first full year, like they started in 2023. And what I'm seeing most consistently with them is, number one, on average, it took them almost 8 months to get their first phone call.
Oh, wow.
So we got a phone call in 30 days.
Yeah.
And so that was like, okay, cool. It took me 100 days to get the first deal under contract.
Yep. 8 months to get the first phone call.
8 months to get their first phone call. They did, somewhere between 3 to 6 million in residential sales that first year. So, and somewhere between, 5 or 6 deals.
Yeah.
But 2024, it's not just they doubled. They are quadrupling, and I don't know what goes after that. Quintupling. I mean, we, a couple, they went from 6 million in retail residential sales to 35 million in 2024.
Right.
That 35 million is $1 million in GCI. So they went from like 100,000 to $1 million in GCI in 1 year.
Yeah.
One guy in a 40,000 person market went from he'd done about 200,000 a year in commissions for 12 years. Last year he did 500,000 in GCI in commissions from his channel.
Yeah.
First year in 2023 did a couple of deals from his YouTube. Last year did over 22 million.
Yeah.
And this is on.
It's a theme.
It's a theme that I'm seeing the second year, especially in these two markets of 2023, 2024. Lowest transaction count in the last 30 years.
Right.
Their second year is paying off big time, but it's happening after where most people quit. Most people quit within the 4 to 7 month mark.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's like the meme of the guy digging in the cave and he's about to hit the diamond and he just quits.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'm with you, man. I think a year for sure, content-wise. I mean, when I came into it, I had committed years.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to do this for years because I know it's worth it. In the long haul, it's going to serve me for the next decades. Yeah. So I was willing to, I could see the vision. And it's 100% true. Whether you're a realtor, a plumber, an investor, whatever, any career path, it is worth it. But you got to have a long enough runway and you got to have the time. So I think expectations are the most important thing. But, dude, it's been great hanging with you. It always is. For those people who are realtors interested in this, where do they go?
PassiveProspecting.com.
Okay.
So we got everything on there. I mean, even as a general business owner, like I said, the book Passive Prospecting, I wrote that more, I don't want to say generic, but I would say more general, so that any entrepreneur could pick up that book and understand
how to use YouTube,
the foundations and principles. Yes. To do that. The first 9 chapters are the principles, because I really want people to understand the power of YouTube. And then the last 5 chapters, we actually walk you through. And there's some things, I mean, I think the book could definitely do an update because it was published in 2023, but it's still it's 90% of it is still there, relevant, and you'll understand, I don't care if you're an investor, a wholesaler, syndicator, you're going to understand what you need to do to get started at least. And then of course you just have to learn from there. You have to learn from there and keep growing. The platform, the cool thing about YouTube is it doesn't change that much. I feel like Instagram, TikTok, I feel like Instagram has an identity crisis. Like they don't know what they want. One day it's reels, one day it's carousels, one day it's photos, and one day it's photos on top of your reels. It's
now it's a trial reel.
So they're always, it's all this different stuff. Oh, this year you've got to do this, and I feel like YouTube's pretty consistent, which is make good content, provide value, have a call to action. And
have a good title and thumb, and you're square.
Yeah, and you're going to do some good business. The platform really has not adjusted that much, except for one thing, I would say, and I think this is across all the platforms right now, just to kind of close this up, is that the content is what's most important than the channel, or the channel name, or the subscriber count. Yeah, because now the algorithms are based off of what people are watching.
Yeah, most people don't even subscribe to things.
5-6 years ago, your YouTube feed was kind of like who you subscribe to.
Yep.
Now it's like what are you watching, or what are you most likely going to watch?
My homepage tells me what I'd be interested in.
Yep.
I don't know the last time I subscribed to something. So I'm with you on that. Well, dude, always great hanging. Super inspiring to see what you guys are doing and helping a ton of people. So guys, go check them out, especially if you are a realtor and make sure you subscribe. You know, you probably haven't. You're probably watching this. You haven't subscribed. Like, go against the grain. Go subscribe. I don't know that it'll help me, but go do it. All right? And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.